Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zera. With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick. Visit us at ihatecritics.net, everyone's a critic podcast.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handle is CriticsPod. Listen to us at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Alexa, all your podcatchers. If you could, on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the show, rate and review the show, and leave us a 5-star review. We'll read your review on the air. And if you do so, we will give you a 4K Blu-ray copy that has been given to us by distributors across the country, across the industry, rather. Best way to help support the podcast is patreon.com/criticspod. There you'll get our bonus episodes where we talk about movies, but also music as well. And we generally bring a guest on to make it more interesting. And then finally, if you want some of our podcast merch, head over to tpublic.com and search for Critics Pod, or go to the ihatecritics.net and click on the TeePublic link up in the right-hand corner. Usually we record on YouTube live, but not tonight. But if you want to watch live, we usually post on our social media when we are going live, so be sure to follow us on all the platforms. All right. Sorry for last week. It's my fault we missed again. I just moved into a house to get away from the money pit I was in, and since being in here, the air conditioning's gone out. Dishwasher stopped working. The plumbing came disconnected underneath the sink in the kitchen. Lowe's totally screwed up the stove order. So we sat without an oven for a week. What else? There's more, and I'm forgetting. Oh, we're trying to train dogs to use an invisible fence. That's painful and hard to do. Mm-hmm. Not to mention my job where I'm trying to work. My wife went on vacation like almost the day we moved into the house, so I was left alone for a week. It's been a fun time, and nothing's gone right. So hopefully, I'm here tonight, so we're not on YouTube because of me, but we're getting closer. So hopefully and it's not getting any better. At some point, I'm going to Louder Than Life in Louisville, so I'll have to miss a week here at the end of September. The week of Kevin Smith, I'm going to be in Seattle. I'll be there for the episode, but I'm going to have to find a time during the weekend to hopefully catch one of the extended Fathom events, which breaks my heart that I can't go the Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday as originally scheduled. Anyway, that's the rest of the month, but let's go ahead and get started with this week's show. Let's start with Bodies, A24.
Sure, Bodies. This is a new horror film from A24, which rarely misses. The story goes here: they've got a group of kids headed to a place in the New York, upper New York area with in the middle of the woods. There's a hurricane party going on. Two of the girls who are going to this arrive. I think it's Storm Reed and the girl from Borat. I can't remember her name now.
I'm old.
Anyway,
I don't know.
They are a couple. They're arriving, and right away you find out that they may not have been actually invited. Nobody knew they were coming, which just makes for early on awkwardness. But the whole thing gets pretty awkward. In fact, it grows even more than just merely awkward as the night goes on. This is a horror movie, so there's going to be some blood and guts and so on going on. And how that comes in the form of a game called Bodies, which is supposed to be just a fun little thing where you turn the lights out and everybody goes looking for each other, and you're supposed to just touch somebody and they're dead, and then everybody has to do social deduction to figure out who the killer is. Except that people start actually ending up dead. I think this is probably one of my least favorite A24 movies. And the thing about it is that it just doesn't feel quite as authentic as it should. Like, I think what they're going for is interesting. They're going for this combination of both satirizing modern culture, but also living within that modern culture. It wants to be all things to all people in that way, and I just don't think it lands in that way. I think the movie is occasionally kind of got a good jump scare quality to it. It's got a strong sense of humor. These are really terrific actors involved. Even Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson. I keep doing that all the time. I had to go back and rewrite my review after once.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's fine. It happens. I hadn't published yet, so I didn't completely embarrass myself like just now. Pete Davidson, he's still playing Pete Davidson. He's always going to be playing Pete Davidson in movies, and um, I didn't particularly find the twist regarding his character to be all that funny. I know it's meant to be, but I didn't find it funny. And the whole thing just doesn't quite come together for me. And I really wanted this movie to come together. I kept waiting for that moment to happen where it was going to click in that this is an A24 movie and that it's got a little bit something more going on. But the tricky tone that they're going for in this movie, this combination of comedy and horror, just never really lands. And at one point, I even thought, oh, they're going to pull the old "it's all just a dream" thing, and they almost did, I think. But then they pulled back, and I guess everything in this movie actually happens. In the end, yeah, I just was not particularly satisfied with this one.
Yeah, I want to blame it on my age, but it sounds like that's not the case based on listening to the way you're talking about it. So, I mean, it's definitely a Gen Z horror movie. It's for them. I think my daughter would absolutely love this movie. However, A24 has given us so much more than that. They've given us less, too, on occasion, but for the most part, they've given us some pretty high art when it comes to movies. So, yeah, when you compare it to other A24s, it definitely is near the bottom of the list. It was fine. I didn't go see it with my daughter. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I was at least watching it through her. But again, I wouldn't be watching it through a critical eye at that point. I'd just be experiencing it, probably living it through her. And if she enjoyed it, it'd be one thing. But again, it's not A24. In terms of the twist, I didn't see it coming. At the same time, it's not like, oh my God, it's not The Sixth Sense. It's not even The Mist. It's, I guess you're right that we're trying to go for comedy. I wanted to try to, because it was A24, I'm trying to like it. I'm trying to do things to make me really go, this is amazing. Because I remember that feeling in the theater. And I know you weren't a fan, but when I saw The Mist and the way that ended, I was just like, oh shit, I just thought it was a ballsy ending at the time because movies weren't really doing that then. And it just kind of brought emotion out of me. And I was trying to make that feeling with this movie because it kind of does the same thing in a way. But it doesn't quite punch you in the face as hard as it really should. Because what you find out they were doing and what the result is it should be more of a punch to the face, And listening to you talk about it, I kind of recognize that a little more now. I was just kind of writing it off to, it's a Gen Z movie. It wasn't for me. But that should have been a pretty big punch in the face, that twist. And it wasn't. It should have been... It is dark, but it just... You're right. It doesn't land. It grazes off the side of your face. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
I think... And part of that is, I think, that they're playing too much into the Pete Davidson thing, the too much into his persona, relying too heavily on your perception of him, and that's fine. But I think if you had a different actor who's playing a similar role, and maybe doesn't bring that baggage to it, then maybe it might work a little bit better. It might have a little bit more punch if he was an actor who was a little bit more unexpected doing something like that. But when it comes to it being Pete Davidson, it just kind of feels like this is kind of based off just the perceived perception of Pete Davidson. It kind of seems like, yeah, that tracks. Like it should be funny. It feels like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. Really, if you put any Saturday Night Live character in a role like that. Now, this was designed to be more like Pete Davidson, but you're right. You have a classically comedic actor in a horror movie, and then there's kind of a humorous ending that's supposed to be kind of dark, and you're right. You throw that comedian into that role, it wouldn't work. But if you had, Miles Teller or something like that or whatever, not that he's probably too old for that role at this point, but... Whatever, somebody else. You're absolutely right. I thought for the most part he was really good in the movie, but you're right. He was just playing himself, so it's not. Or a perceived version of himself that we all have. I've kind of started to come around on Pete Davidson. I never really was a big fan over the last couple of years. I'm starting to like him a little more.
King of Staten Island was really good.
Yeah. And, it seems like he's aware of his demons and trying to take care of them. So, I'm always rooting for the guy to be successful. I thought he was good in this. It definitely, I'll kind of, honestly, I'd forgotten about it until we went through the list of movies before the show, because we watched this 2 weeks ago.
And that's really not how an A24 movie should land. Like, A24 movies are not movies you forget about very soon after you see them. They're movies you remember for quite some time. I was just writing about Everything Everywhere All at Once again. Because that movie rarely leaves my mind.
I mean, I never have to see Enemy again, and I'll never forget it.
Exactly.
Something, there's several movies like that.
Same way.
Exactly.
Waves.
Yeah, just the roller coasters of emotions that all these movies have got me through. The awe of watching some of them, just sitting there and being like in total awe of like watching The Witch and being like,
Midsummer.
Not to mention, well, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's not this movie's fault, but it's kind of like what Pixar does. It's kind of like what happened to Pixar with like movies like Onward. Like, it's like, yeah, it's Pixar, but it's not Toy Story.
Right. Well, all of a sudden, A24 is not our little hidden gem that only we know about. It's starting to be more of a. It's not quite mainstream, but it's just on the cusp of it. I mean, they're winning Oscars. This certainly feels like a play, a mainstream play, right?
In many ways, considering the rising star cast. Maria Bakalova was the actor's name I was trying to think of before. Rachel Sennett, who is just an amazing actress, just love her so much, and Storm Reed is incredible as well. It's a really great cast. It's unfortunate that I just don't think they had quite the thing that they didn't make it. It's so close to being where it should be, but there's not that transcendent moment where you're like, oh man, and I'm wanting that. When I watch an A24 movie, I want that moment. I live for that moment in an A24 movie.
Absolutely.
You get it in Lamb, you get it in Midsummer, Hereditary. I just wrote about Hereditary again.
I need to watch that again. My son wants to watch the scariest movie of all time, and I'm like, I mean, if you were to poll the whole world, they'd probably land on The Exorcist. I know you wouldn't agree, but I think if you were to poll most people, that's what they would land on. But I'm like, if you really want to go scary, and then he's like, which one would win in a fight? And I'm like, well, movies don't fight each other, so I can't really.
Well, you want to genuinely scare somebody. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's the way you scare somebody. That's a scary movie. That's a terrifying, awesome, brilliant movie. Whereas Your Mother Sucks Cock in Hell is like something that Kevin Smith could do.
I love Kevin Smith.
I do too. But I mean, that line makes me laugh, and it's supposed to make me like be upset.
Oh yeah, I mean that's right. When I graduated college, I was going through these job interviews, and they were one of these jobs. A friend of mine worked at this company. He was a year older than me, so it was kind of they would tie you into a partner, and they tied me onto my friend, and he had gone through. And one of his coworkers, anytime they had touched the space bar, it would yell, "Your mother sucks cock in hell," with the Reagan voice. And it was always like, eat me, or whatever. He just, every key did something different. I'm like, I'm trying to get a job, and here he is pulling these pranks. I mean, it's saying it out loud. It's like the whole office can hear him do it. So it was like, I needless to say, I did not get that job. Let's see. Let's go with Mack and Rita.
Mack and Rita stars Diane Keaton as it stars her, but she's playing the same character as this young actress whose name now would of course escape me, but who delivers the best performance in this movie. The plot goes that this young woman goes to she's kind of got an old soul. She likes hanging out with her grandmother and doing kind of old people stuff, having lunch or dinner early in the afternoon, that kind of thing, like wearing vintage clothes. And again, her grandmother was like a cool grandma or did cool things with her. So she decides to go to this place. Her friend is having a bachelorette party in Palm Springs, and she doesn't want to go to this party that they're going to get drunk and high and whatever. She wants to go do an old person thing, so she decides to go do a past lives regression or something. And instead of that happening, she ends up finding her true self, which happens to be a 70-year-old woman played by Diane Keaton. It's still her, like this young woman, but it's the 70-year-old version of herself, which is played by Diane Keaton. So she comes out of that being Diane Keaton, and she has to go back into the world as Diane Keaton and pretend that she's also like this influencer person that is her real life. She's actually a real life author and influencer. And Diane Keaton, so basically it's a social media satire with Diane Keaton, becoming a social media sensation as the glamour. She's the glamour on Instagram because she's the glamorous grandma.
It's funny. A lady I work with just had a granddaughter, and they decided to call her Grandma.
Oh boy! Sorry.
I know. It makes me laugh.
It's just very cringy when Diane Keaton does. It's really just cringy anytime
cringy
Diane
in general.
It's cringy when Diane Keaton does just about anything these days. It's been 20 years since she's been in a good movie. 22 maybe. It's been a while since she's been in a good movie.
22 in 3 months.
I've been doing my homework on this on the blog. Reading through my reviews of The Family Stone and Because I Said So, and just reliving my trauma.
So really you're just counting. You're at 22 now. You're hoping it's 22, but it could be 23 next week when you get to the
It keeps going. It's just so cringe. But the thing about it is, the thing that's really sad about this movie is that it's not all bad. Taylor Page from Zola is in this movie, and she's amazing. She gets nothing to do, unfortunately, so I can't really praise much of what she does. But the young woman who plays the younger version, the actual character, she is so good. And then she's gone from the movie, replaced by Diane Keaton. You're like, no, wait, come back. You're amazing. Come back. I want to see more of you.
I feel like you're going to say that later on in the show.
She was just so good. And I really liked her, and I really wanted to like this movie because of her, but I can't because the Diane Keaton parts are just pure cringe. This is directed by Katie Aselton, who's a really
I
talented.
love her.
Yeah, she's talented and funny, but I don't know what it is about Diane Keaton. She just sucks the funny out of anything she does. Sorry, I know everybody. I don't understand why I don't hate her as a person. I love her as a person. I just hate every movie that she's in.
You're gonna
as
be
a
like,
person, she's wonderful.
That's gonna be like, what came last, Annie Hall or Godfather 2? Were those the last time she was good? That's funny.
I apologize, but
no,
it's just bad. It's just another bad movie with her. I mean, there's this whole social media influencer thing too. My God, there's just does anybody know how to do a satire of this? Is it just such a satire of itself that no one can do a satire of a social media influencer?
Probably. That's a good question. I don't know.
Because it's never been funny. Anytime I've seen it on screen, I immediately cringe because nobody is capable of being funny at it. Addison Rae is an actual social media influencer, and she made a terrible movie about being a social media influencer.
I mean, it's just such a ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's like something that shouldn't exist and does.
And everybody's right. I was going to say everybody's just jealous of the fact that people can make money being on social media. But at the same time, those people are making movies, making fun of it, and they're not doing it right. I don't really know. I don't know. It's just such a ridiculous thing. I don't know how you make a movie that makes fun of it. It's just like Trump being president. You can only the jokes weren't funny anymore.
It's the dystopian future has become real.
Right.
It's like, you know, you hit 23 and Logan's Run isn't funny anymore.
Oh man. Nobody under 30 is going to get that. Sorry. Orphan 2.
Orphan 2, starring Isabel Fuhrman, which is kind of surprising considering that this is a prequel to the original Orphan that she was in. This is set before that film, and she's only, 13 years older now than she was when she made that film. So this has required a great deal of trickery, and this is where I gotta say that even though I'm not a big fan of director William Brent Bell, he did a heck of a job here trying to convince us that this was actually a very young, like 11, 12-year-old girl. This is the story that happened before Orphan, where, of course, her character died at the end. Spoiler alert. This is the first family that she murdered in total. The story goes that she's the most dangerous patient at this Estonian psychiatric institute. She manages to escape from there, and her thing that she's done even before this movie, so they say it's first kill, but I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the truth, because they say she's done this before, where she hunts down a family that is missing a child, and she looks for one that looks kind of like her and has been missing for a few years that she can pretend to be. She's actually a 31-year-old woman, but she looks like a 11-year-old. So she looks for a child that kind of looks like her, and it's kind of like that movie, The Imposter. The guy came to America pretending to be a teenage boy who had gone missing. It's same idea here, except that she murders people. But so she gets adopted by this family, headed up by Julia Stiles in a terrific performance. And this movie comes up with a very clever twist on how to play this particular idea. It doesn't necessarily make the orphan character Astrid or Ethel, I can't remember what the name is. But the bottom line is it doesn't make her the hero, but at the same time, you're like, these people are so rich and so awful that you're kind of like, I'm kind of rooting for her. And so it's playing on this very tight balancing act of being, being not necessarily celebrating murder, but at the same time, you don't feel so bad if things are going to go the way that she kind of wants them to go. And so it does a really great job of that. It's really trashy, and in terms of technical filmmaking, it's not very good. I mean, it doesn't look very good, but the ability to make it look as if Isabel Fuhrman is really a child is pretty impressive. And most of the way that they build this plot, they came up with a really good idea, and I like that they came up with a really good idea. And so I'm kind of down with the idea of this, and I kind of like the movie in a way. It's trashy. It's not great, but it's as for a movie directed by William Brent Bell, which he's not made very many good movies, this is pretty impressive.
I mean, one question I have is why not just cast an 11-year-old? Why go through all the work? I mean, it's impressive that they did it, but it's got to be a lot of work to get that done, and probably costs a lot of money.
I mean, Isabel Fuhrman she went through a lot to do this. A lot. She had to walk on her knees in a lot of scenes, and can do so convincingly that it doesn't look like she's walking on her knees. So it's like she was duck walking in some scenes, and they had to shoot around that to make it look, right. Because I think she's 24, 25 now, and the character is supposed to be 11. So it's pretty impressive. Her face, they didn't quite do much with. She's got a relatively young face to begin with, right. But it looks like the face of an older woman. And there are aspects of it, that embrace sort of a very low budget kind of Z movie aesthetic, where it's kind of like you just have to accept that some things you just kind of have to embrace a few ideas here, like the fact that she has a 25-year-old's face or kind of thing. But I didn't mind that so much because the movie doesn't ask you to take it seriously. It doesn't treat itself with a great deal of seriousness. I think Bodies kind of suffers from trying to be serious in a way. It wants you to take it a little bit seriously and ground it in a very serious way. This is a B movie. This is one that doesn't hide the fact that it's a genre film. It's not pretending towards anything bigger than what it is. And the lack of pretension in Orphan First Kill is kind of impressive for me in a way that Bodies wasn't.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to Emily the Criminal.
Emily the Criminal stars the brilliant Aubrey Plaza as the titular Emily, who works as a caterer, but really could desperately use more money to do what she wants to do. And so when a coworker offers her this card that says, call this number if you'd like to make $200, she takes it. And she calls the number, and she gets invited to this meeting, and she's brought into this warehouse, and she's told, you can make $200, but it's kind of against the law. Now, if you want to leave, you can leave. But if you want to stay, you're going to get $200 to do this. So she stays, and she makes $200 doing this very particular kind of scam. This gives her kind of a taste, and it brings her into this criminal world, and she needs more money going forward to pay the rent, and thinking about going to do other things that she'd like to do, and watching her friends be very successful. She kind of gets a little bit jealous, so she wants to make more money. And she figures out a way to get in on this scam and maybe make it even bigger for herself. Along the way, of course, she's dealing with very criminal types who are obviously, kind of her ally, but also kind of like, hey, slow down. You work for us, not for yourself. She's also kind of new to this, so she finds herself in various different dangerous situations with people she has to deal with in order to make money. This is a really smart film. It's a drama for the most part. There's no real comedy in it. It's a very kind of a straightforward drama, but it has really smart pacing, really strong, exciting moments. And Aubrey Plaza is just amazing. I'll follow her anywhere. She's so great, and she's so great in this. And really, this is one of the best single performances I've seen this year by an actress. She's just that good. She's so compelling and so interesting that she makes all of this work. And on top of which, the scam is really interesting to watch unfold and how they do it, and the technical side of how they pull off what they pull off. I don't want to give anything away about it because it's that interesting and it's that compelling. I really like this a lot.
Well, let's stick with that theme because we want to have more Aubrey Plaza. Let's talk about Spin Me Round.
Spin Me Round, yes. This is a different kind of Aubrey Plaza movie. Spin Me Round is a comedy about a chain restaurant, an Italian chain restaurant, owned and operated by a character played by, I forgot his name already. Anyway, it's such an interesting name. Alessandro Nivola, there it is. He's the chain guy. He lives in Italy. He runs everything. He's a billionaire. The character played by our lead character is played by Alison Brie. She's a manager at one of these restaurants, and she gets invited to go to Italy to train as a manager for this company and to get management training and spend a week in Italy. And it sounds all romantic and exciting, but obviously once she gets there, things will be a little bit different. She gets there and she finds that they've taken her passport away, and she's not allowed to leave the hotel. They're not staying in the villa that was promised to them. They're just staying in like a chain hotel. The training, it consists of really boring lessons, and then at one point just watching Life is Beautiful. But then she gets an opportunity to spend time with Alessandro Nivola. He takes her outside specifically to spend the day with her and get to know her. And right off the bat, I think this is where kind of the movie kind of goes wrong, because the movie doesn't quite know what it wants to do with the Alessandro Nivola character. I know he's not sincere, and there's no attempt for him to make himself seem sincere. But at the same time, I don't know what the movie intended with the character overall, because they give him these moments where he comes off as sincere, where he comes off as vulnerable. And even at the end, like, he's there and you're like, why is this guy getting this moment? He doesn't deserve this moment. He doesn't deserve a grace note. Because again, right off the bat, with him being alone with one of the managers of one of his, automatically he's the CEO. She has no power in the situation. You've got a power dynamic here that is automatically just off the charts wrong. and nobody comments on it. Nobody says anything about it. That does become a thing later on, where you find out that maybe this whole trip has been designed to bring women to this guy, and that there may be something even shadier going on. But again, they don't know what they want to do with the Alessandro Nivola character. Is he a villain? Is he just a creep? What is he? And that is a major failure of this movie. But the biggest failure is what they do with Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Plaza plays his assistant, and she's the one who brings him the women to spend the time with. And she takes a liking to Alison Brie's character, and they begin to develop a friendship and something even more than that, maybe. And it's kind of this very exciting dynamic. And for about a third of the movie, this middle point in the movie, we're watching them together, and the movie is exciting. It's sexy. It's romantic. It's funny. They're great together. Their chemistry is off the charts. And then something happens, and her character is just gone from the movie. Just gone. Just does not come back. And it's like, why are you not paying this off? How do you not pay off that chemistry in some way? Just having them spend a moment together just to kind of, settle things, however you want to settle them, it blows my mind. It is such a wasted opportunity. And it just really sunk the movie for me, on top of just the whole what to do with the Alessandro Nivola character. The idea that you're going to give her moments at the end of this movie, the Alison Brie character gets moments at the end of this movie with Tim Heidecker's character, with the character, with another character that she's kind of spent a little bit of time with. She gets moments with them. She gets moments with Molly Shannon. And it's like, but you're not going to bring back the one character she actually really connected with in this movie? Are you kidding me? Like, that is just ridiculous. It is such a blow to this already kind of weak movie that really this becomes a very bad movie in the end.
I think you're being too nice to it. I think this movie knows exactly what it wants to be, and it just made a bunch of bad choices. And, as good as Alison Brie and Aubrey Plaza are in this movie, they also they have a quirky sense of humor where I could see them reading this, and I'm projecting, I don't know them. I could see them reading the script and getting to that twist ending and thinking that's funny on paper, and then signing on to the movie for that kind of, just because it's so weird and out there. But it's just a movie that just kind of wanders in weird directions, and it doesn't need to. If you would focused on, even if the movie was just about Alison Brie and Aubrey Plaza and that was it, I don't even know if anything needs to happen. Just watching them together was kind of like good. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they explained what happens in a throwaway piece of dialogue, but it makes enough sense, but it's just, you're still left like, I'd rather see that than what I'm watching. Mm-hmm. So I just think it was people making a movie who thought they were being cute and funny, and all of a sudden when you find out what's going on, it's just like, I don't know. It was just more like lazy writing, like, watch what I'm going to do here. Mm-hmm. And that kind of threw me out of the movie. I was already kind of out of it anyway. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't a fan of what the direction they were going. I think they knew full well what they were doing the whole time. I just don't like what they did. At least that's how I feel.
The movie turns into a horror movie for like 10 solid minutes. And it's like, where the fuck did this come from? Like, why are we doing this right now? Like, it's not scary. It's not funny.
Well, they're using this dude from The Office too, who's like, he comes out of nowhere. Like, he's in the background the whole movie. Now he's like leading this horror movie.
He's like one of the most prominent characters. Yeah. Bizarre choices all around. Just why make him a significant character at that point? My theory is that at some point they just lost Aubrey Plaza. Like, she couldn't stay. She had to go make a better movie like Emily the Criminal, and they just lost her and had to go on without her. That's the only way I can explain it. Why you give that character such significance in that movie and then drop her completely. I mean, all I could do in the last 5 minutes of this movie was search every frame going, okay, well, when's she going to show up? I mean, because you can't give her that much weight, and or maybe she just takes that much weight because she's that good.
I think it's more that if I'm being honest.
I was searching every frame going, okay, when's she going to walk in? And then you've got a scene near the end where Alison Brie is standing in a kitchen, and they had a big moment outside of a kitchen, and I thought, she's going to knock on the back door. That's going to be cute. That's great. That's a great way to finish this off. And then nothing fucking happens. And I was angry. I was angry at this movie.
I think the performance was better than the character personally, and she made us want more. It was just bad writing. It really is. I don't even know, because where they go, it's just, I guess it makes sense, but it's just kind of, I mean, it's even less funny than the ending of Bodies. Like, it's, and this is, both of them are trying to go for this funny little twist, like, look what we're doing, and it's a bizarre movie, but not in the way that it wants to be. It wants to be bizarre, like, let's move this way out there, and more it's in a bizarre way, like, bizarre choices, like, boy, it's bizarre you decided to go there with the movie versus, where did you think of that, you know? That's kind of the difference. There's nothing really groundbreaking about it. There's nothing that just kind of opens your eyes and you're just kind of like, wow, I never thought of something like that. Instead, it was just kind of like, oh, that's lame.
Yeah.
A 13-year-old could come up with that.
What does this title even mean? Spin Me Around. What does that even mean? What does that mean to this movie? Did somebody just in the marketing department going,
yeah, like, absolutely.
This has to have come from the marketing department.
Oh, for sure. Wonder if it's the original name of the movie.
Yeah, I can't imagine it is, because, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't relate to anything in the movie, so. All bizarre. Right. What an utterly bizarre movie.
All right, we have 2 more movies left and 2 classics to go with them, so let's start with Fall.
Fall. This is a movie starring 2 young women who are playing climbers, and one of them has a very severe trauma happen on a climb very early on, where her husband dies while they're climbing a rock face. It takes about a full year for her to kind of recover from this, where she becomes like she gets deeply into drinking alcohol and just kind of throwing her life away. Then her friend who was with her that day when her husband died comes back into her life. And this friend has gone on to become a successful YouTuber. And her thing is doing these exciting stunts where she climbs crazy things and risks her life. And her latest thing is she wants to climb the tallest TV tower in America. It's this out of service TV tower somewhere in a Texas desert. And it's about 3,000 feet in the air. She wants to go there and climb it, and she needs somebody to climb it with her, so she wants her friend to go with her. And she finally does agree, and they both go down there, and they climb this thing, and they end up getting all the way to the top. And then the thing breaks, and they're trapped up there, and they have to figure out a way to get down. It's a very simple premise. It's a very straightforward premise. They don't spend a lot of time on the trauma stuff. They just use that to create the stuff that they're going to use to build tension while they're up there. And there's a couple of really smart little tiny things, visual things, and dialogue things that they do to give them something to talk about while they're up there. But overall, what it's about is just this amazing aerial photography that creates this idea that they are 3,000 feet in the air and have no way of getting down. And then they create incidents where it's like, if you fall asleep on the tower, on this part of the tower that they're on, you could roll right off, just very easily, roll right off the side. It's a very small thing that they're standing on. Like, you have enough room. Like, if you sit down and lean back, you're leaning back against the tower itself, and then your legs are off the side, like in front of you. Like, that's the length of thing that they're standing on. It's so exciting, this movie. I really had a great time. I was terrified the whole time because the photography is just that good. They used drones, and then they used an actual tower, which was pretty high up, and they kind of angled it so that it looked off of a mountain, so it looked like they could do actual visuals where they could seriously be looking down 3,000 feet. It's really great. Then I was watching that on my TV, and I was freaked out. So you can only imagine on the big screen what that experience must be like for people. Then again, I'm one of the only critics who liked this for some reason. I don't know why anybody else didn't fall for this. I did. I thought it was great. I even didn't mind, some of the things that they did up there that kind of mess with your perception of time and so on. But I really loved it. There's even a scene in this movie where they made professional wrestling poignant.
Really?
They did. They really did.
That's awesome.
And there's a moment like where Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays the dad of one of the girls, shows up, and you see Stone Cold Steve Austin bobblehead, and you kind of get.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really great. That's a great piece of direction. I like this movie a lot. I thought it was exciting. I thought it was. It made me afraid of heights. That's what it was trying to do, and it worked.
You told me to go see it, and I had it planned where I was going to go see Bodies one night and then Fall the next, and I should have swapped it because obviously I never got to go see Fall. It sounds right up my alley. I love that simplicity when it comes to horror or suspense. I just think it's so well. People are always trying to reinvent the wheel, when in reality, there's a lot of things that are just very simple and terrifying. That if done right, certain movies have done it great. Buried with Ryan Reynolds, I thought did a really good job. Obviously, we're going to talk about our classic Open Water. I think I told you last episode, I thought Gravity was just going to be Sandra Bullock floating in space. That would have scared the shit out of me. You could have done something like that with that movie, and no matter what, it's really cool, and I definitely am looking forward to seeing it when I get a chance. But our classic for what was going to be last week's episode is Open Water.
Yes, Open Water, directed by Chris Kentis and starring Blanchard Ryan, and I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but a couple goes on a scuba diving trip. They're on vacation. They're going out to go scuba diving, and just a series of minor little things happen that create a situation where while they're in the water, they spend a little bit too much time underneath, and there was a miscount on how many people were in their party, and they get left behind. And they're left behind in the middle of the ocean with nothing around for miles. You got jellyfish, barracuda, sharks, and these two people, and then you've got a camera, and now you have a movie. That is a pretty I was talking about it with Fall, where you've got you painted yourself into such a corner. Now how do you get out of it? Coming up with the various different scenarios that you could use to create drama in a situation like this. And the key is the brevity, but also tone and pace, coming up with just incidents to use. And this movie comes up with a lot of clever incidents. These two characters blaming each other. There's minor little arguments here and there. Just these, the fear of sharks. What you'll do if one of them dies first. Like these questions that you're going to have to ask eventually come up, and they have got a lot of weight to them. These two actors are really terrific, and they put their bodies on the line to do this. They spent a total of 250 hours in the water to make this movie, which is insane. But the dedication pays off, because this movie is wildly exciting and terrifying, and you hold your breath for most of it. That's the key. Is like when you forget that you're holding your breath while you're watching a movie, that's a great moment.
I don't get why this movie isn't referenced more. I mean, Jaws is Jaws, but this is right up there with it in terms of scary. I mean, if not scarier than Jaws. Jaws makes you scared of sharks. This makes you scared of the water more than any movie does. I will never go deep sea fishing. I have no interest in ever going on a cruise. Like, it's very real. More than anything else in this world, what scares me more than anything is being in the water and not being able to see any land anywhere near me. Whether I'm on a boat or nothing else, the idea of that is just absolutely terrifying. That and floating through space. I have no interest in ever going to outer space. I don't care. It's, I don't care if I have cancer and I'm going to die and they're just going to float me and let me go until I die. I just don't want to do it. And it's all because of this movie. This movie scares the crap out of me, and I don't remember it being all that loved when it came out. I don't remember being hated either, but
weird.
It definitely hasn't been talked about that much. So I was excited when you brought it up as a classic idea, but it baffles me that no one agrees with us that it's really that good. I mean, it really is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, and it's just smart. Everything about it is believable. You know, like similar to Fall, they kind of set you up with kind of getting to know the characters before they go out in the water so that they can get to the drama later on. I don't know. It just, I absolutely love this movie. Love watching this movie. And I don't get why no one else does.
Yeah, it blows my mind sometimes. I think like the reaction to Fall is similar to me. Like, why don't people like this movie? Like, I love the low budget aesthetic of this. Like, you can make this movie for like $10, like, but they create more scares than like 99% of Hollywood movies. Like, it's so smart and it's so well paced, and it plays on primal fears. And I think the thing that people try to avoid when they go to the movies is things that they're actually afraid of. I think that's the key. I think you can dismiss, if you can dismiss a movie like, say, the Unholy with Jeffrey Dean Morgan I was talking about before, where that's a supernatural horror film that there are ghosts and demons and whatnot. That's easy to dismiss. You can lose yourself in that. That's escapism. That's not something that's real. This is fucking real. Like, this is a real fear that you would have to like think about and live within. And this movie forces you to live within the space of these two people and listening to them breathe, listening to them talk about how tired they are, and what's going to happen when I fall asleep, or what's going to happen when we run out of food, or we don't have any food, when we're just so hungry that we can't stay alive anymore. Like, starving to death in the middle of the ocean is the very realistic thing that's going to happen to these people. Like, all of that, you're just kind of like them. You're forced to just scan the horizon looking for something, anything that could save these people,
any form of hope. And you feel like you're out there with them. It's funny that the way you mentioned it. I was listening to a podcast on the way to work the other day, and they were talking about horror movies, and the host said the reason demonic possession movies are so good because they could really happen. And it was like, I mean, I guess if you believe that sort of thing, but this, everybody can. I mean, it will never happen to you or I, because we'll probably never be in the ocean like that, because we know better, because we watched this movie. But, people go on cruises all the time, even after COVID. So
I was having a thought, though. How I hate Everest, that movie Everest, because those people did that to themselves, and I have no sympathy for them. I have sympathy for these people because this couple especially, they didn't ask for this. They went to do something that millions of people do on a daily basis, and just one or two little things get mistaken, and they end up in this situation where they're in a life or death struggle. Like, they didn't ask for this. They didn't do anything that was super dangerous or unusual, and this happened to them. Fall, they put themselves in that situation, but at the same time, I think that they had enough reason to believe they could do it that I didn't feel as much, anti-sympathy for them in that situation.
If the movie's good enough to make you forget about that,
that's another
that
point
plays
too.
a role
Whereas
too.
Everest wasn't good enough to make me forget about any of that.
I mean, to me, Open Water and Blair Witch are kind of, I'm assuming Fall, they're kind of in the same ballpark. Simple premise, low budget, and they just use the environment to scare you. And
that's one of the great things about Fall is the sound design. I talked to the director about it. I talked to the director about the sound design and the way he uses the sound of the wind, the way he uses the sound of buzzards overhead, the way he uses the sound of, he'll have a visual of a very rusty nut that moves every time they climb another rung of the ladder, and it makes this metal on metal sound, and it's just, the sound design is phenomenal.
I'm dying to see it just because I want to know what happens. Like, I kind of want you to tell me, but at the same time, I want to find out because it could go anyway. You know, do they
There's
get
a lot
away?
of ways
Do they
for it to
die?
go.
Yeah, it's you know, I guess similar to professional wrestling, there's those matches that are, you know, who the winner is going to be no matter what. And then there's one where any wrestler, any one of the guys could win. Like, and those are the matches that are fun to watch. A movie is the same way. You could tell certain movies when nobody's going to die or who's going to die. Like the Jurassic World movie, we all knew those 9 characters, whatever the hell it was, weren't going to die.
Main character powers.
Yeah, and there was nothing but main characters in that movie, so it was just so not exciting.
Yeah.
Here, the whole gamut of things could happen, and you're not going to be disappointed either way. If they make it, you're relieved they made it because you want them to make it because you just want to get out of the situation for them because you feel like you're in it. If they die, it just adds to the horror. So no matter what happens, and maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's why people don't like it. I don't know. But that's why I do like Open Water, and I am really looking forward to seeing Fall as soon as I can.
Yeah, I mean, there's a moment in Open Water where one of them, I'm not sure if it was like a where they were having like a fever dream or something, or one of them wakes up and they can't see the other one, and it is terrifying.
Yes. Yeah.
And the same thing happens in Fall, and it's fucking great.
God, I can't wait. I'm a little afraid to see Fall in the theater, so I might wait for TV too.
It's still scary on TV, I can promise you.
But I don't know.
Do you have a fear? Do you already have a fear of heights, or? Because I didn't before I saw this movie. I
have a respect for heights. When I did my internship, I'm an accounting person. I was doing an auditing internship, and I literally had to count beans. So I would have to climb silos and then like look into them, and you know, you're one arm on the ladder, one leg on the ladder, leaning over, looking down the hole, and dropping a tape measure in to try, and then knocking on the side of the silo to see if it's, you know, if it's hollow there or not, and trying to measure how much corn's in there, and it was exciting and scary at the same time, because if you've seen those silos, those ladders are very, very small.
I've also seen a movie called Silo where somebody gets trapped inside of a silo and almost dies.
Yeah, we didn't have to, we were told not to jump in them because it'll suck you in. That said,
like quicksand.
We did have to army crawl across a grain elevator full of corn and then measure the ceiling to the top of the corn. That sucked. My allergies did not like that.
It's like, what the fuck? I just want a calculator, man.
I'm going on these interviews, and you know, they're telling me I had to do the audit for Gibson guitars, and I had to do the audit for Playboy magazine, and I just like all these. I had to do the audit for a corn elevator. Anyway,
stupid Midwest.
Yeah. Let's talk about Beast.
Beast stars Idris Elba as a New York doctor who decides to take his 2 daughters to South Africa to visit the village where their mom was born and grew up. Their mom having passed away not all that long ago. The father has not dealt well with that. He's kind of become, and he's gotten into drinking and depression and not really dealing well with his daughters. And he's hoping that this trip will bond them again in a way. And it does. It ends up doing that. They're out there with his good friend played by Charlton Copley, for once not ruining a movie that he's in. I really hate that guy too. As an actor, I mean, not as a person.
Right.
He's just been in a lot of really terrible films.
Well, he's made a lot of okay movies terrible too.
It's true. Like the Maleficent movies. No, the last Maleficent was really bad even without him, but the first one could have been better without him, is the point. Anyway, not the point. They go out on a safari to see, you know, Africa and whatnot, and they find out that this village that this guy, Charlton Copley character, goes to a lot has been completely destroyed by a lion. Lions don't tend to do this, but this lion did this because poachers had killed his entire pride. So he's kind of out on his own and basically taking revenge on all of humanity. He ends up trapping them in their car for about 2 days, and they've got to survive on just some water and some snacks that they brought. And there's this lion just kind of roaming around, waiting for them to make a move. The lion breaks the windows, climbing on the thing, and they're hiding and trying to find a way to slow this thing down if they can, and maybe figure out a way to get away. They're in the middle of nowhere, so they've got no cell phone. And no, they can't get anybody in the radio, of course, because that's a cliche of movies like this. And in the end, Idris Elba punches a lion. Now, just a tip for anybody who's wondering: if you punch a lion, you will die. That is not that is not a defense for you or anybody. It's a defense for this guy in this movie, but only because the lion is. It worked one time for a real guy but that lion was like very, very old and very, very like desperately near death. He punched it and was able to get away from him. And this lion similarly is not in the best of shape. So maybe Idris Elba might be able to punch him and get away. But generally speaking, don't punch lions.
I mean, if they're attacking you, you don't have a choice. If you're lucky,
you can try it, but you're not bringing back your arm.
Most likely not. I still recommend trying it if your life's in danger, just in case.
If you're that close to a lion, your life isn't in danger. It's over.
Most likely,
if they want to kill you, they're going to kill you.
But do everything in your power to try to survive, I guess. But why are you that close to a lion?
Don't get that close to a lion.
Yeah, just start there. Now, punch a shark in the nose, they'll go away, from what I understand from watching Shark Week.
I forgot to mention that. I love the way that Shark Week comes up in open water. It's such a good reference. But now Beast is, it's not bad. It's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. It's kind of fun in that sort of Liam Neeson movie sort of way, where Liam Neeson punched the wolf. Idris Elba punches the lion. Right. I think Liam Neeson had the good sense to die in his movie, though.
I mean, I would like to see them. Like, when I saw the trailer, I knew what they were doing. If they would have taken more of a Cujo approach, that would have been, now a very simple premise. You're surrounded by a lion and, probably going to bust through the car quicker than a dog would. But still, there's things you could do with that to keep it simplified, keep them in one spot. I love
Cujo, actually. Yeah. Cujo's a good shout because Cujo's actually a really good movie. The further I get away from Cujo, the more I go, man, Cujo's really good.
I mean, really, when you come down to it, if I have to list the actual true scariest movies of all time, I mean, Cujo's up there, probably in my top 5. I like movies better than Cujo, but it's full on terrifying. And not many movies are truly that terrifying. I watch Hereditary, and I'm not scared. I'm just in awe. So that's why I wouldn't put a movie like that up there that high on it. But Cujo, Open Water, Blair Witch Project, these are movies that are truly terrifying, especially in one of the experiences I had. So I if this were to go for that, I'd be more into it. But it seems like I want a little more action movie-y with it. So I didn't go see it. But
like I said, it's not bad. It's actually it's okay for what it is. It's kind of exciting enough. It's got character enough. Idris Elba enough. Everything about it is just good enough to say, you know what, not a waste of your time.
I did watch our class.
Ringing endorsement.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for me. But let's talk about the classic that we put along with this and one of the great comedies of all time, Roar.
This movie is hilarious, isn't it? Hey, I got a great idea. Let's live with lions.
I mean, this is like the real life Tiger King or whatever the fuck that show was. As a movie.
I've spent so much time just researching the making of the movie and the amount of injuries that I barely even watched the stupid movie. I couldn't even tell you the plot.
I'm so much more interested in the behind the scenes stuff because it's billed as the most dangerous movie ever filmed. Well, because you're fucking doing it with lions.
Aside from the movie where Michael Curtiz killed 5 extras, this is the most dangerous movie ever.
True.
He killed like 5 extras, like, and endangered thousands of other ones.
Yeah,
that was Noah's Ark 1928. If you want, the footage is actually in the movie. You can see people dying. So there you go. Have fun.
The first episode of Faces of Death is called Noah's Ark.
Well, they shouldn't have been sinners. I mean,
yeah, good point. Valid point.
Anyway, no, Roar. The director. So the director of this movie is his wife is Tippi Hedren. She's in the movie along with her daughter Melanie Griffith, and 2 of her adopted sons are also in the movie. They actually raised these lions for 5 years specifically to make this movie, and they still got mauled. All of them still got mauled. Tippi Hedren was actually injured by 2 animals on this movie. So the elephant picked her up and tossed her and broke her ankle, and which then got infected and gave her gangrene. Then she came back, and the lion bit the top of her head and scratched her skull. She has a scratch on her skull from the teeth of a lion from this movie. That's lucky compared to what happened to the cinematographer on this film, who happens to be Jan de Bont, the director of Speed, was scalped by a tiger on this movie.
Wow.
Yeah. He had to have 227 stitches in his head from getting scalped. And he came back the next day and went back to work because he's a crazy person.
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
But then the assistant director nearly had his throat ripped out. The tiger caught him by the throat and thankfully didn't squeeze, because if he'd squeezed, it was over. But just caught him by the throat, was kind of pulling him a little bit, and he had to go in and have emergency surgery. And after that, 20 other crew members walked off. They didn't want to work on the movie anymore. Melanie Griffith nearly lost an eye. The director nearly lost his arm. His hand got bit completely through, like right through the palm, all the way through, leading to a blood infection that led to gangrene that nearly cost him his arm. And that was just one of the 17 times that he got bit.
And then you watch the movie and you say, all for what?
Right?
I mean, it's not like you're making The Godfather.
No. What even is this movie? Like, it's so... just watching these tigers just attack these people, and they're trying to deliver dialogue.
This is a bizarre movie. But
it's like Melanie Griffith's like trying to jump into the pool, and the tiger's like got her by the leg and about to rip her leg off. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, it is. It's more famous for the behind the scenes stories than the movie. So the movie itself, I couldn't even tell you what it's about. Like you said, it's probably
family lives with lions,
right?
I mean, that's it. That's the whole thing.
And I know it's. I mean, at the time, nobody knew who Melanie Griffith was. But looking back at it, Tippi Hedren and Melanie. You have like named people in this thing. Mm-hmm. The movie baffles me that it exists. It's, I don't know why why people want to play with lions they don't get, or tigers or whatever else. It's a
dilettante thing. It's like people with money just want to show that they can do anything, that their money can buy anything. Their money can buy, my own pet lions, and lions will listen to me because I'm rich and powerful and master of the universe.
And then
it's just pure dumb arrogance.
And then the little cub they had grows up, gets a little too big, and they just let it loose, running around some town in a cornfield or whatever. They do the little cub bears too. People are idiots.
Oh, so dumb.
This movie is about people who are idiots.
Yeah, that's basically it. And the movie is free on YouTube for anybody who wants to see it. And they left in a lot of injuries, so...
Well, they only could have so many takes. I guess a wrap for the day. He's got to go to the emergency room.
All right, who needs an ambulance?
We got 3 hours into work today, guys. Hopefully we can get a full day tomorrow.
Remember, nobody call OSHA. Nobody call OSHA.
Is OSHA even a thing? I mean, this movie could not exist today.
No, there's no possible way. Like, these are CGI tigers and beasts. So, I mean, Idris Elba was never in the same place as that lion and beast. I'm sorry, I do that sometimes where I say lion and tiger. I know they're different things. I think everybody does it. Where you talk about lions and tigers interchangeably. But interestingly enough, I wrote a piece about lions and tigers in movies based off of Roar and Beast, and there's actually a movie that had an accident that was just as interesting, and it was Jodie Foster, and I had no idea. Did you know she nearly died in 1972?
No.
She was in a movie in 1972 with a tiger, or with a lion, rather. Excuse me, where I can't remember the name of it. Napoleon and something. Anyway, yeah, she's walking in front of a real tiger. They've got a real lion. They've got this real lion in the movie named Major. 2 kids walking through the woods are trying to get to Michael Douglas's house. And Jodie Foster's 8 years old. She's walking in front of the tiger. And by her account of it was she's walking in front of the tiger, and apparently she wasn't walking fast enough. So the tiger decided to move her along by grabbing her around the waist with its teeth and picking her up and carrying her. So she tells the story. The tiger just comes up and just bites down on the side of her, like, and picks her up and is shaking her around. And the entire crew goes running. And the lion wrangler has this lion by this fishing line. He's running the lion on fishing line because they don't want anybody to see that the lion is on a line. They want that fishing line won't show up as much on screen. So they only got it by a fishing line. He's trying to get the lion to let go. And thankfully, the lion wasn't trying to kill her. The lion literally was just trying to get her to move faster. So he got him to convince the lion to drop her. She suffered pretty serious injuries, but she did go back to work 6 weeks later, and the movie still came out the same year.
She didn't make it back the next day.
The next day, no. She's not Jan de Bont.
No. Not many are. It just reminds me of the old Chris Rock joke about Siegfried, whatever I forgot their name. What is their name? Siegfried and Roy. When his joke was something like, the tiger didn't go crazy, the tiger went tiger. The tiger was crazy. Oh man. I mean, I don't recommend watching Roar. Go to Wikipedia or watch YouTube I'm more interested in the behind the scenes stuff.
There are better documentaries about the making of the movie than there is this movie. This movie is terrible.
All right. We didn't look up 1992, so maybe we'll catch up to you next week with all of that. But in the short term, let me pull up some Flickchart so we can leave.
The early 90s have been something of a bust. Let's just say it.
Well, it's such a weird, I've mentioned multiple times when some movie will come out and I'll be like, well, Goodfellas already existed, so why does this, why do we still have Porky's level comedies still out here and Friday the 13th level horror still going on? Because it's unacceptable at this point. Unforgiven exists. There's been some great Sounds of the Lambs, some great movies now. Mm-hmm. It's time to start acting appropriately, directors of the early 90s.
Absolutely.
Black Hawk Down, The French Connection.
I actually prefer Black Hawk Down.
I do too. Do you dislike The French Connection or?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, I'm not sold on it.
I don't dislike it. I just like Black Hawk Down better. She's All That or The Road Warrior.
The Road Warrior, even The Road Warrior is better than She's All That.
Yeah. Ronin or Hostage?
Hostage is actually a pretty good movie.
Okay. Don't carry the way. Thunderball or Lethal Weapon?
Lethal Weapon. Yes. By a lot.
Burn After Reading, Dangerous Liaisons.
I really want to watch it. I can't believe we missed that back in '88. I don't know why I didn't watch it then. Do want to take another look at that, but burn after reading.
Right. Recency bias. I don't have any fucking quarters. Magnolia or The Fisher King?
Magnolia. Magnolia is amazing.
No, it's not. And I think The Fisher King's really good. Magnolia wins the coin flip, though. Cars 2, American Hustle.
American Hustle.
Absolutely. Subway, Office Space.
Not familiar with Subway.
The Quick and the Dead, Office Space.
Office Space.
Shit, that was 1995. Oh, wow. Quick and the Dead came out after Unforgiven. Planet Terror, Big Mama's House.
Big Mama's House. How much I hate Planet Terror.
Oh, well, Planet Terror actually won the coin flip. Sex Lives of...
No.
Sex Lives of the Potato Men. That's not even something I'm interested in. What about Roman Holiday? You know that one?
Oh, I love Roman Holiday.
Do you know
Roman Holiday is way better than Ballistic Express ever, which is one of the worst movies ever made.
Perfect. Roman Holiday wins. Wall-E, Grease.
Wall-E.
Agreed. Tenet, The Terminator.
Tenet.
I never did watch it, so I'll let you have it. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, X2.
X2. That's how much I hate National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
I kind of like the second X-Men.
But Sean, the shitter's full. Hey, the shitter's full. Yeah, it's really fucking funny, man. Fucking walked out. I walked out of a screening I was hosting. I was hosting the screening, and after the shitter's full, I got up and walked out because, no, just no.
Was that your first time seeing it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. The Whole 10 Yards, the Simpson movie.
Simpson movie. Whole 10 Yards was really disappointing.
Yeah. The Great Muppet Caper, A Journey to Avebury.
Never heard of Journey to Avebury.
Enchanted, The Great Muppet Caper.
Great Muppet Caper. I like Enchanted, though.
Yeah, Broken Arrow, Hollow Man.
Broken Arrow.
Broken Arrow's kind of fun bad. Hollow Man's just bad.
Broken Arrow beats Kevin Bacon's dick.
It's not true.
Even Invisible, he's got to show his dick. Isn't that amazing?
Day of the Dead, 1985, 4 Rooms.
Day of the Dead. 4 Rooms is really disappointing.
Yeah, the King of Comedy, King Kong. 2005,
Oh, King Kong. King Kong. I found King of Comedy pretty disappointing.
I didn't mind it, but it was lower level, of course, Scorsese, or at least second or third tier down. Godfather 2, Russell Crowe, Robin
Godfather
Hood.
2.
Dead Poet Society, Thor Ragnarok.
Wow, that's tough. That's tough. I really love Dead Poet Society, but I gotta pick Ragnarok. I had so much fun watching Ragnarok.
I'm gonna watch Thor, even though when it came out, I said I didn't love it because I didn't think it fit. But it's Dead Poet Society. I just don't have to watch again. It's really good, but it's not fun to watch. Sky High or The Client.
Sky High or The Client?
Yes.
I'm starting to lose you a little bit.
Sky High or The Client? Can you hear me now, or are you still losing me?
I can hear you, yes.
All right.
I'm going to go Sky High.
I absolutely love Sky High. Way too much fun. Annie, The Return of the Living Dead.
Return of the Living Dead. Please never make me watch Annie.
The Muppets 2011 or The Crying Game.
That is tough, man. I don't know. Like, they're so different. They're so obviously very, very, very different. But like, I enjoy them both in different ways. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to watching The Crying Game again.
Yeah.
When it comes up, when it obviously must come up sometime this year. Still,
Watch it came out this week, and we missed.
we're just that lazy. We missed one of the best movies of the year.
It was our classic once, so at least there was.
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
I mean, for me, this one's harder than Thor and Dead Poet Society, just because, like, that's just such a typical drama, standard, straightforward. The Crying Game's like a work of art. The Muppets is very watchable, so it's much. Like, I'm almost leaning towards The Crying Game, and I really love the Muppets.
No, I'll go with you.
Horton Hears a Who. The Devil's Rejects.
Horton Hears a Who.
God damn it. Horton wins the coin flip, but I voted for Devil's Rejects, just so you all know that.
I published my original 2005 Devil's Rejects review, and yes, I hated it as much then as I do now.
Hey, Roger Ebert loved it. That's all I care about. Keepers Creepers, Don't Think Twice.
Don't Think Twice. Terrific movie. Loved it.
What is that about? I don't feel like I've seen that.
It's about a group. It's about a group of improv actors who are, getting a little bit older and looking at new opportunities. And one of them gets a shot to play at a kind of an SNL thing, and kind of breaks up the group. And yeah, they're dealing with kind of going their separate ways or staying together as a group. It's funny. Mike Birbiglia is in it, and wrote and directed it.
Paul Blart Mall Cop, The Core.
You know what I liked is Paul Blart Mall Cop. It's not that bad, actually.
Well, I mean, it's obviously the bar is not that high for it.
Yeah,
but
no.
I definitely think they step over it.
It's absolutely, certainly better than The Core. Good God, what a piece of shit.
10 Cloverfield Lane, Changing Lanes.
Those are two really good movies. Changing Lanes doesn't get the kind of credit that I think it deserves. It's got a complicated story.
Absolutely.
It's got some challenging questions for you. That I think that's probably why a lot of people don't like it. Is the movie really pushes buttons that you don't want pushed.
I absolutely love that movie. I think I'm going to go Changing Lanes. Where are you leaning?
I was kind of thinking Cloverfield, but if you're going Changing Lanes, like, it kind of gives me confidence to go there as well.
All right. I mean, I like Cloverfield, but I'm with you with just the complication that is Changing Lanes. And Affleck and Sam Jackson are just so great in it. Mm-hmm. Run, Fat Boy, Run, Animal House.
Animal House. Even though I don't think Animal House is that great.
It's definitely overrated. Black Beauty, 16 Candles.
16 Candles.
Yeah.
My apology to horse girls. There's a lot of horse girls in the world. I don't even know this. This is a whole subculture I've only recently become aware of. The women who love horses. Not love horses in that way. I mean, just they really like horses a lot. Not in the...
Not in the Dick Long way.
Not in the Dick Long way.
Director of everything.
Much more innocent way.
Yes. 13 Unforgiven.
It's Unforgiven, but 13 is an incredible movie.
Absolutely.
Again, another one of those movies that really force you into some very uncomfortable places.
Yeah, they just happen to go up against one of the best movies of all time. Kung Fu Panda 2, The Shining.
The Shining.
The Simpsons movie, Kill Bill Volume 1.
Kill Bill.
Absolutely. Superman Returns, Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. By a lot.
Hardcore Police Academy.
Which one is Hardcore? I don't remember that one from 20.
I feel like I should know that, but I can't
remember.
Yeah,
I feel like it too, but no, just something about it doesn't even ring a bell.
Badlands.
I probably have a review of it somewhere.
Probably. I feel like we talked about it on the show. I just can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Badlands.
Made real impression.
Yeah. Badlands Police Academy.
Gee, where do you go on this one? It's so tough. It's Badlands.
It's the Terrence Malick movie I actually like. Cadillac Records, Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Great movie.
The Taking of Pelham 123 or Dark Waters.
See, I liked Pelham. I know a lot of people think that it's a lot of just John Travolta overacting, but he and Denzel, I thought they were actually pretty great together. But Dark Waters.
Yeah, I've only seen that one. Spider-Man 2, The Age of Adeline.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, the Dallas Buyers Club, Before Sunset.
Before Sunset.
Still need to watch those movies. Drive Me Crazy, Vincent.
Never heard of Vincent.
Looks creepy. Drive Me Crazy, The French Connection.
I guess I'll pick French Connection.
Young Guns, Roxanne.
Roxanne.
They Live, Birth.
They Live.
Absolutely. Identity Thief.
Birth is like what Nicole Kidman giving birth to her own husband or something.
Yeah, it was fucking not fun to watch. I mean, I get why she took that role.
She has to raise him as her son, and it's her husband.
Yeah, I mean, as an actress, I get why you would go for something out of the box like that, but that's not fun to watch as an audience.
It's too far out of the box.
Yeah. Identity Thief, The Godfather Part 2.
Godfather Part 2.
Junior, Liar, Liar.
Liar, Liar.
Romy Michelle, Boys in the Hood.
They're completely different movies, obviously, just incredibly different, but damn it.
The thing is, this is hard because I almost like them at the same level for what they are.
Boys in the Hood.
I guess recency bias, I would go there.
Yeah.
Congo, Clerks 2.
Clerks 2!
Love that movie.
I've seen Clerks 3.
I know.
Sorry.
I'm very happy for you, and I'm very excited to see it. Cocktail in the Barbershop.
I've not seen a movie from 1908.
You never know. Cocktail Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler.
The Polar Express, Seabiscuit.
Well, Seabiscuit is a real piece of shit. But the Polar Express is also kind of shitty. So I'm not sure where to go. I guess Polar Express.
Yeah.
Only because I really don't like Seabiscuit.
I agree. Spice World, The Road Warrior.
Oh, boy. Road Warrior.
If you had gone Spice World, the podcast would have ended. Adventures in Babysitting, Stolen Kisses.
Like permanently? Or
No, that would have been the perfect way to go out. If it was like something Josh loved. He's watched some good movies lately. I mean, he's already seen them a million times. We've been showing his son. That's kind of cool.
It is.
Adventures in Babysitting, Stolen Kisses.
I don't think I've seen Stolen Kisses. Doesn't look familiar.
Adventures in Babysitting, Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Like Adventures in Babysitting is a better movie, but Breakin' 2, if you're watching it with a good group of people, is the most fun.
Really?
Oh, it's so great because you can't stop laughing. If you've got the right group of people, it's just so much fun to make fun of.
I've never seen it.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Why don't you pick Adventures and I'll pick Breakin' and we'll just let the coin choose.
All right. Adventures wins.
That's fair because it's an actual movie as opposed to what Breaking is.
Children of the Corn, 1984, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
30 Days of Night, The Karate Kid, 2010.
See, I don't even remember if I liked 30 Days of Night. I think I actually did like The Karate Kid, so I'm just going to go there, I think.
I liked 30 Days of Night. I didn't care about Karate Kid. I'll flip it. Wow, this is the best percentage of winning I've ever had, like 50-50. Yet
it's always when you don't give a fuck,
right?
Which one wins.
Devil's Rejects. I would love to win that one. L.A. Confidential, Funny Face.
L.A. Confidential.
Undercover Brother, Mississippi Burning. Oh, Jesus Christ. Podcast episode over. All right. See you next week. What do we have next week? Do you know?
Oh, gosh. Off the top of my head, I don't actually know.
Sorry, audience. I just dropped the ball this week. But hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next week. Bye.